limits that exist are the ones you place on yourself. And honestly, I didn't fully understand that quote before. Because there was a time when I thought fear was normal, doubting yourself was normal, and staying quiet was safer than trying and failing in front of people. Maybe some of you now know that feeling too. You want to do something great, you want to raise your hand, join the competition, start something new. But then this little voice in your head said, what if I fail? What if I embarrass myself? What if I'm just not good enough? And slowly, without realizing it, we build invisible walls around ourselves. But this isn't just a personal feeling. As a nation, Indonesia once knew this feeling very well. For centuries, colonialism controlled more than just our land. It controls opportunities, education, even the confidence of our people. Indonesia were taught not to believe in their own greatness, but simply to obey the system that oppressing them. But if colonialism truly succeeded in limiting Indonesian, then why were there still people brave enough to dream of freedom when freedom itself seems impossible? Perhaps because the struggle against limitation never truly disappeared. Today, it simply appears in different forms. Distinguished judges, honorable guests, and my fellow young generation, allow me to introduce myself. I'm Zia Rabina from SMA Liza Batu International Islamic Boarding School to present speech titled Beyond Fear, Indonesia Rises. My fellow Indonesian, that phenomenon reminds us that while every Indonesian has their own limitation, the way we respond to them is a choice. Today we are no longer physically colonized. Yet, how many of us still let fear dictate our choices? How many of us scroll to social media every day, seeing others achieve great things and simply think to ourselves, I could never do that? Why this matter? Because a nation progress is paralyzed when its youth are too afraid to try. Imagine a generation with the brilliant ideas to solve our economic issue, our environmental crisis, or our technological gaps. Now imagine millions of those ideas buried alive simply because we were scared to fail. When we let fear win, the cost isn't just missed personal opportunity. The cost is also Indonesia's future. And maybe to understand how we break free from fear, we need to look back at history. Think about Tan Malaka. Imagine being forced to leave your homeland, moving from one country to another, hiding behind different identities just to survive. That was Tan Malaka's reality. For a year, he lived hunted, exiled, and constantly in danger. But despite all of that, he never allowed fear to imprison his mind. In 1925, while living under pressure and uncertainty, Tan Malaka wrote a book titled Naar the Republik Indonesia, Towards the Republic of Indonesia. Think about that for a moment. Long before Indonesia physically existed as an independent nation, he already had the courage to write its name, and perhaps that is what made him extraordinary. Not because he never felt fear, but because fear never stopped him from imagining something greater. He once said, terbentur, 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 dan terbentuk. Struck, struck again, and eventually formed. Because he understood that greatness is not created by avoiding struggles. It is created by facing difficulties repeatedly until they shape you into someone stronger. And honestly, if someone like Tan Malaka could still dream of a free Indonesia while living in constant danger, then maybe, as the young generation today, should stop fear to convince us that we are incapable of greatness. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not standing here today just to give you a history lesson. Because if you close this video unchanged, then these words means nothing. So today, I want to challenge all of us, confront one fear that has been holding you back. Allow yourself to struck. Allow yourself to fail, to be uncomfortable, and to try again. Join communities that push you to grow. Surround yourself with people who inspire action instead of excuses. Because when you are surrounded by people who keep moving forward, you slowly realize maybe you can move forward too. And perhaps that is how Indonesia truly rises. Not when fear disappears, but when young people choose not to surrender to it. So break your invisible chains, rise beyond your doubts, because when one young dares to rise, Indonesia rises with them.